Good day, good people. Welcome back to your new podcast, A Dope Black Dad, with your host, myself, Marcus A. Smothers. I just thank everybody for coming back for episode 2 of season 1 of A Dope Black Dad. Yep, I'm going to say that one more time. A Dope Black Dad. Before I go any further, I just want to tell everybody thank you. You all have shown me so much love. You have shown me so much love from episode 1. You guys have given me feedback. You guys have shouted me out. I've seen some of you shout me out on Instagram, shout me out on Facebook. I just really appreciate that. This is something new. I'm stepping out into new waters. I'm a novice at this thing, but I'm extremely happy. I'm extremely excited, and I just appreciate everybody so much. You know, you're going to hear me say thank you every episode because you don't have to spend time with me. You don't have to sit there and rock with me. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So there we go. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, let's jump into episode number 2. Episode number 2 today. So I wanted to do things a little different. Like I had an idea of how I thought I wanted episode 2 to go, a big continuation from how episode 1 ended. So it was like, we can go here, we can go there. So my thought was this. I feel like if we are going to take this journey together, if you all are going to start riding with me from episode 1 and 2 and all of season 1, I wanted to give you a little bit more insight on myself. As I've always stated, I want to create these spaces to have these conversations. And in order for that to happen, there has to be a sense of or a level of openness that I bring to the table. And so I said, I want to kick off episode 2 with some more backstory about me. Everybody loves a good backstory. Everybody loves a good origin story. So I wanted to give you guys an origin story of who is Marcus. Who is this dude that's talking about being a dope black dad? Where did he come from, or what has molded him to be here? And that's what I want to do today. I want to talk about that journey, or the journey of manhood, or the things in life that has happened that has made me who I am, this 40-year-old man that's talking to you today. So here we are. My life has been very good to this point. I don't have a tragic story of my upbreaking. I don't have a story of like struggle, hard time, or different things like that. But I do have my story. I have gained a lot of insight, a lot of wisdom throughout the years. And this is what I'm here to do, to share these bits and pieces of my life. So buckle up. Here we go. So Marcus Smothers, I identify as a black American man that was born in the South. Yep. I'm a black American man that was born in the South. The South being Florida, to be more specific, Jacksonville, Florida. And those things right there alone have a different experience on my life. One, just being black and being black in America, those are just 2 layers of different things that has molded myself to this day. And then just being black, born in America, and now being a man, well, not now being a man, those are just 3 more levels of things that have molded my life. So at birth, I already have 3 things that are already molding what my life experience is going to be. And so now I'm born in the South. Black men that are born in the South, things are different than black men that are born in the North, black men that are born out West. Life experiences are different just based upon history itself. And then born in Florida, there's always some things going on with Florida. We're always different. And then in Jacksonville, So those are a lot of key things that has molded my life just at birth. So with me just being black, American, a man, born in the South, and born in Jacksonville, those are five different factors that has already started to shape Marcus. Without me even knowing myself, just at birth, I already have five different factors that are going to determine some of the things in my life, or are going to be factors in how my life is projected to go, or how my life can go, or what people say it should go. So outside of that, I was born into a two-parent household. I was born with my mom and my dad. We all were in the same household. I have two older brothers, so I am the youngest of three boys. That there's a lot of I don't know. There's a lot of stereotypes or assumptions that come with being the baby of the family. We tend to think that the babies of the family are always spoiled. They always get what they want in life. But let me tell you one thing about that. It's definitely not true. Do not assume just because someone is the baby of the family that they're spoiled and that they get everything that they want. A lot of times, sometimes being the baby of the family, it can kind of hurt you. It can kind of hurt you in the standpoint because sometimes based off of the things that your older siblings may did, your parents may not even allow you the freedom to do certain things. And that's just real. So sometimes being born last can have some effects that may not have on someone who was born first or born as the middle child. So please don't assume that just because someone was born, they're the baby of the family, that they are spoiled. Definitely not true. I will consider myself or my family middle class. Both of my parents worked. All my life, I've known my parents to work. I cannot think of a moment in my life that both of my parents, were not working. So that is one thing that was instilled in my life early. Is working, is going to work, getting you a job. My parents are a little old school, so they're from the generation of you find you a job, you get there, you stay there, and then you retire. You stick at that job, whatever it is, you thug it out. That's what you do at your job. And so I've always known the benefits of working. I remember being happy as a kid. I remember being happy as a child. I have a lot of happy moments of my family, of my brothers, us growing up. I remember having my first dog. I remember the great snowstorm of Jackson. I remember the great snowstorm of Jacksonville. Like some people listen to this now, like Jacksonville had snow. Yes, there was a point in time where we had snow. And I remember that day, and it was amazing. So those are just some other things that factored into my life growing up. I grew up in church. Um, I don't remember my life outside of church. And to be more specific, I grew up in a Kojic church. And, depending on your knowledge of church and background, there's a different type of lifestyle from Kojic church or Baptist church, not to just go off on denominations, but those things play a big factor in your life as you're growing up. And I can't deny that. Like, there's a lot of things that have happened to me, but there's one thing that I do hold on to is my faith. There was some things you could say growing up in church that we were probably too extreme on, but there are still some foundational pieces that I hold on to even today that has molded who I am and has given me a certain level of integrity or a certain level of just how I deal with life. Again, in my life it was cool. I played sports. I was tall early, so of course, when you're tall early, you play basketball. That's the thing. I was the tallest boy on the basketball court. I remember playing basketball at the YMCA on Cleveland Road. That's where we played basketball at. At that same YMCA on Cleveland Road, I played t-ball. That's what you did. That's what guys did when I was younger. You played sports. That was it. I played Pop Warner football growing up. Shout out to Forest View Tigers. It is what it is. It gets so many leagues right now, but at that time, it was Forest View Tigers. That's who I played for. So sports also played a big factor in my life, and because I was tall early, I think I got a growth spurt early. Like, so I was always the tallest kid, but then when I got to middle school, it was like, boom, it's not as effective as it was. I had a close knit family. I remember times where over the summer, we used to go to Daytona Beach for the summer, and we used to get a suite, and all of our families, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, and we would just spend time in Daytona and just enjoy each other. So there were certain things in my life early that were still making me and still molding me, but I have good memories of my early childhood, and I am thankful for those things. But then as you get older, other things start to happen that you don't really understand the value, or you don't understand the pull that they may have had on your life decisions until you get older. So there were some things that happened for me when I was younger that I didn't understand, but as I got older, I started to realize, like, that that's what happened, or that's the reason why I feel this way today. And it's very awkward. So we'll continue to talk about those things. Like the earliest memory of, I would say, something crazy happening was, I remember my parents got a divorce. That was very hard on me. That was a very hard moment in my life when my parents got a divorce. I was a kid, or I was a child who, at an early age, had a photographic memory. So what that means is, as I was growing up, my mind just took pictures. I never had any context. I never knew what was going on, but my mind just started to take pictures. And as I got older and I was able to kind of put things together, those pictures started to turn into movies, and they started to replay. And it caused me to start asking questions, because as a kid, I wasn't able to articulate, or I definitely didn't know who to ask about those things. But my mind took pictures of a lot of things. And even to this day, I can still identify places that I went as a child. And my mom, or other people in my family say, "How do you remember that?" I just remember pictures. I remember images of where I was as a kid. So even after my parents got a divorce, that played a role in my life. It played a role in my development, like any other child. I grew up again as the baby, and there were expectations that were put on me indirectly. Sometimes we have expectations that we can put on our children or on people indirect or directly, meaning you're going to play sports. Oh, my child is really good at football, so I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that they excel in football. Or my child dances, I'm going to put everything that I can into make them dance and expect them to thrive in dancing. So we can put direct expectations on people, and then we can also put indirect expectations on people. And for me, I felt like there were a lot of indirect expectations of people, because I was the baby of my family, and my brothers are free spirited people. Um, my brothers, they're going to make their decisions for their decisions. And I didn't feel like I had the freedom to make those decisions that I wanted to make for my life based off of some of the things that they did. Um, there was a sense of you're not going to be like them, or you're not going to make those decisions for them. And so I felt like I had to be perfect in a sense. And again, it's an indirect expectation. So I felt like I had to live my life in a sense, in a way that did not mirror them, but I've always wanted to be like them. And so that brewed some insecurities within myself that I did not understand. And even like as I got older, it caused me to somewhat be bitter towards my brothers, because I felt like they had a lot more freedom to do what they wanted to do. And it wasn't that they just had the freedom, that's just how they were. They lived their life like, you know, it's my life. Like it's my life. So I didn't have that. I lived my life with a lot of restrictions because I felt like I had to live up to the unrealistic expectations that other people put on me at church, expectations that people in my family put on me. Like I would hear things. That's why it's very important that we watch, or we pay attention to what we say to kids, because we listen. And when I'm saying we, I'm talking about the young version of Marcus. He was always listening to things like, oh, you're not going to be like them, or you bet not do nothing like they did, or you got to make sure you do this, don't you do that, or you're always going to be different, you're going to be good in life, because you're nothing like them. And so it made me start to feel like anytime I wanted to do something, I did not do it. Not because I was scared, but because I was living up to the expectations of other people. I began to be a people pleaser. And the danger of trying to be a people pleaser is that you start to do things for recognition. You start to do things for praise. You start to do things because you want people to be happy. You start to do things and you start performing because you don't want people to be mad at you. And so for a lot of my teenage years, that's kind of how I live my life. I live my life trying to reach a goal that I thought was set for me. And because I did not have anybody telling me that, it's okay to live your life. It's okay to do these types of things. It's okay to be you. I can't remember those conversations that I had growing up, but I do remember a lot of conversations of people telling me what I should not be like, or I should not feel that way about a certain thing. I had a lot of conversations about what I should not do, but not what I was capable of doing. So it's very important as men, as parents, as we're raising our children, that we give them a place to be able to be themselves. And I know people who probably in my past, they're probably thinking about it like, no, we didn't, but it's my truth. It's my reality on the things that made me growing up and shaping Marcus as a man. So now I'm in middle school. I'm still playing football. I'm still playing basketball. I'm still doing these things because, I was always taught that I would be good and I was excelling at these things. But deep down inside, I enjoyed the game, but I didn't have a passion for it. I didn't have a passion for basketball, or I didn't have a passion for football. I loved the sport, but I didn't want to play it. I didn't want to play it. And it kind of showed. Like I kind of just started dwindling away from it, but I did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Let me change that. I did know what I wanted to do. I was always interested in arts, not like drawing, but like theater, acting, and different things like that. But there wasn't a big avenue for me to do those things. I didn't feel like the landscape, my landscape at that time, was built for me to do those types of things. So I just continued to Just go through life. I'm in middle school. I'm floating. I'm through high school. I'm floating. And I don't have a real sense of direction. I don't have a real thrive for anything, but I don't know what I want to do, but I have a big clue on what I'm not supposed to be doing. And that's kind of how I live my life. How can I find a way to do what I want to do without getting caught? Because sometimes when kids are kind of left to themselves a little bit, we kind of find ways to do what we want to do and not get caught. That was me earlier. Like I seen the things that my other friends did or that my brothers may have done. And my mind was, you got caught. How can I learn from your mistake and not get caught? So because I knew what I could not do, I knew what I was not supposed to be doing, it caused me to find ways to be sneaky. It caused me to find ways to do what I want to do just to a point where I don't get in trouble or I don't get caught. And these are all things that have molded me over the years. Like these are just things I lived the life of trying to please so many people. And it's like I'm like real intense in this conversation because like I'm throwing my life out there. Like this is like real talk. I lived so many years of my life trying to please people because I didn't have a good self-awareness of myself. And growing up as a black man in the South, not having a good awareness of yourself, that is dangerous because that will lead you open to anything. That can lead you open to so many areas that you start experimenting with stuff, that you would just start questioning things. It leads you so many, but you know what? No one knew what was wrong with me because what I told you at the beginning, I grew up in church. And I'm not bashing church. I'm not bashing any of that. My faith is still my faith, but I learned how to mask things. I was the Masked Singer before the episode came out on Fox. I learned how to go through life just smiling that everything's okay, but everything is not okay. I remember going through high school. I had friends in high school. Another memory of my life, I moved around a lot. Like I can remember so many different places that we moved around within the city. I went to a lot of different schools. I can shout out. I can do a roll call. Let me see. Let me roll call the schools that I've went to. Earliest memory is Victory Christian Academy, Garden City Elementary School, Highlands Elementary School, Highlands Middle School, and then I went to Lake Shore Middle School. From Lake Shore Middle School, I went to Nathan B. Forrest High School, aka Westside High, and I ended up graduating from Ed White. So that's about 7 different schools that I went through and went to. And so, I made connections with people, but not lasting connections like that. But to keep going, so I continue to try to find ways to make Marcus fit in different modes. But Marcus was never really happy with Marcus. Again, like I said, I can't think of someone that like poured into me as a young man, and it's not a tiny violin moment, but it's true. Like people don't think that men need other men to pour into them in their lives. We do. And that's another reason why I'm okay with having this episode, and that's another reason why I'm okay with exposing or talking about myself, because I want to start allowing men to feel okay to talk about these things. Like, what are some hurtful things that may have happened to you growing up that you never really dealt with? I had girlfriends. I did. I had girlfriends in middle school, in high school. But I wasn't the dude that the females was chasing around to try to get at. I wasn't that dude. I was the friend of that dude. I was cool with the dude that the girls wanted to holler at. Well, I won't say all the girls. That those girls who were considered to be like the top tier. In high school you got some girls who are considered to be the top tier girls, and they ain't want nothing to do with me. They ain't want nothing to do with me. I wanted to holler at them, but they ain't want nothing to do with me. They used to try to get at me to plug them in to my homeboy because that's who you want to talk to. You thought I was gonna be the plug to get you into my homeboy, and I ain't go cap. I let my boy know, so I always did one for the team. But anyway, these are just things that molded me. So there was a sense of insecurity about how I look. I didn't feel like I I played the part, you know, because again, I didn't have someone speaking up to say, Marcus, you're valued, Marcus, you're good. I didn't have those things. My dad was there. Again, I said my parents got a divorce, and once your parents get a divorce, you know, things kind of things can sometimes get inconsistent. Things can kind of get inconsistent, and it's not always the reasons why we think they are. We don't always know the reasons why these things happen, but it just happened. So my dad did what he could from my standpoint. Um, he was around. We had relationships. We had always had conversations. My dad was involved in my life as much as possible. So I'm not going to say that my dad wasn't there, but I do look at around like, what are the imparting conversations? Again, I was the one who we just knew you was going to be okay. Like that's how it was. People just knew that I was going to be fine. So there was some attention to detail that was not really met with me. Um, and I felt that as I was growing up, and it just is what it is. Um, so now I'm through high school. Um, I'm going to college. I didn't go off the college. I wanted to go off the college, but I did not go off the college. I stayed here, and I enrolled at FSCJ. Um, and then when I enrolled at FSCJ, um, I met some individuals that I would say to this day had changed my life. These young men that I met, they grew up in a different denomination than I did, and they gave me a sense of family unity um, that I hadn't had in a while, a sense of brotherhood that I hadn't had in a while. Again, I had some friends growing up, um, and we were still cool, but at this point in my life, they allowed me to start to see the world from a different lens. Like, bruh, it's okay to be who you are and not strive to be perfect. And I had never heard that before. I always felt like I had to strive to live a certain life of perfection, so I hid. But I learned from them that, it's okay to enjoy life. And that started me to enjoy life even the more. That made me start being able to learn who Marcus is and started to answering a lot of the why questions that Marcus had all this time growing up, because we started having conversations with each other. And so now I'm in college, and I'm learning that it's okay to go out and have fun. I'm learning that it's okay to just to do a lot of stuff that I just did not do publicly. I was never really a club person, but you know, I can count on my hand how many times I'd have been to the club because I had that image that I was trying to keep. I always felt like I had to keep a certain image, so I didn't go on certain scenes. But I would tear a house party up. I would go to a house party. Now, why my mind told me that going to a club and going to a house party was like one was better than the other, I don't know. But that's kind of like how my mind went on it. Um, so now I'm in college and I'm learning to enjoy life. I'm learning to develop more things. So this manhood thing is still not really all the way set, but I'm starting to get a little bit more confidence about myself because I'm starting to do life with other men. I'm starting to do life with other young men who are just enjoying life to the fullest. And I was just like, wow, they are really teaching me that it's okay to have fun. Like they had their own hiccups, they had their own things that they were working with too, but we even had those types of conversations. Um, I will say one thing that I did skip. Um, I'll never forget when my grandmother died. My grandmother died um, right before I started college, and when my grandmother died, that shifted a lot of things in me because I I was able to have great conversations with my grandmother. Um, to this day, I've had conversations with my grandmother who I've never had any other conversations with. It's just something about your grandma. It's just something about grandparents that they're a little bit more okay with you being yourself, and that's what I love. Um, my my grandmother was the one who let me drive for the first time, and my mom didn't know. I remember I was sitting over at my grandma's house, and my grandma needed something from the store, and I was like, "Grandma, I can go get it for you." And she was like, "Boy, you don't know how to drive." I said, "Yes, I do." And she was like, "All right, well, go ahead and go. I promise you, I was in middle school." And I got in the car. I went to the grocery store and got her what she needed, and I came back to her house like it wasn't nothing. And so my mom came and picked me up, and she was like, "Mom, I thought you needed to go to the store." And she was like, "Papa got it for me." And she was like, "Papa got it for you. He don't know how to drive. He said he did, and he drove to the store and got what I needed." Shout out to my grandma. So I just had to plug that in really quick. So continue to move to this journey of manhood that I'm growing up. I'm still trying to figure out purpose. Um, I was kind of insecure with myself. Um, I felt like I wasn't valued enough, so I I didn't get a lot of affirmations. So I didn't have a real self identity. So I look for value or I look for acceptance because, like I told you, I felt a lot of rejection when I was in high school from certain things. So I look for places where I could get attention. And so sometimes a lot of that attention came from the opposite sex. And this is why I say it's so important that we try to give value to our kids. Like I'm like I feel myself getting like really caught up in all of this because it's just so important that we have conversations with our kids and give them the freedom to feel like they can say what's on their heart. I kind of came from a generation of say what I say. I mean, do what I say. There wasn't a lot of feedback that I was being able to have, or a lot of opinions on certain things. It was just, this is it, and I do it. And as a young boy, that's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to deal with, but I didn't have a choice. So men that are raising their kids, give them that space. And so sometimes as parents, we say stuff like, what I told them to say. If they got something they feel like they need to say to me, go ahead and say it. But if you saying it like that, they don't want to talk to you. I told somebody the other day, you have to create the space for people to feel like they are comfortable to say what you want them to say. Like, you have to create that space for people to feel like they can be open as you want them to be open. Because sometimes we tell people, I want you to be open. Say what you got to say to me. You won't hurt my feelings. But you don't make me feel like it's okay for me to say what I want to say to you. So we have to do that. We have to create that space for our children to feel like I'm thinking about Michaela. Like, if I'm fussing at Michaela gonna shut down. And then now, after I've chewed you out, now I say, you got something to say? She might. No, I'm gonna change that. She do, but she's not gonna say it to me. Because I have not created a space for her to feel like she can be as open as I want her to be as open, if that makes sense. All right. Going through, now I'm in college, and and I end up having a kid, and I don't know what to do with this baby. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with this girl. Um, you know, we get ourselves in things, and then when we have the result of that thing, and now I gotta grow up real quick. Like, all those insecurities, or all of those things that I never felt like I did not have, I can't use these excuses no more raising this baby. And so now that I find out that the girl that I was my baby mama at the time is pregnant, and now I'm like, what I'm gonna do? I'm still trying to figure my life out. I have some issues that Marcus needs to work on. I have some things that I'm not so quite sure about with me, but I got a baby on the way. And so now my life is turning into a big shift, because now I'm a black man born in America, raised in the South. Now I got a daughter on the way. What am I going to do? All right. So that wraps up this first part. I know it was a big jump into my life. But I really wanted to share that episode with everybody, because I felt like the journey of myself is good. And on the next part, we'll pick that up, just talking about the next half of my life. Now that I'm a dad, what now? Because now we get to figure that part out. So again, I appreciate if you sat through this, if you listen to it. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I really hope that you were able to take something out from it to help you with your life, that you can help with someone else in their life. Again, throughout this podcast, I'm trying to be as open, as transparent as possible, because I want us to have safety and freedom to have these conversations. I appreciate you. Again, this is your host, Marcus A. Smothers, signing off from another episode of A Dope Black Dad. I'll see y'all next week. Good day, good people.